Hello everybody and welcome to this review of the Display4Top airbrushing spray booth. This is my first video on YouTube, so hopefully it shouldn't be too bad in quality, but please let me know how I can improve down in the comments section below. I'll be very appreciated to any feedback that I get. If you've seen me on Instagram, hello again, nice to see you here. If this is your first video, please consider subscribing and also giving a like. It just helps fuel the channel and give me feedback to know that people actually really like the content that I'm making. So one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video is to sort of give an honest first impression amateur perspective on something from Amazon, a very cheap product from Amazon, which you'll see. If you look up Spraybooth on Amazon, there is tons and tons of different brands from China of these kind of spray booths, and they all very much look the same. As you can see on the product page here, we just met with a bunch of very generic images. So I picked this one because it was Amazon's choice and it was also on the cheaper end of the spectrum. So on my recent endeavour to start airbrushing, I wanted a spray booth as I knew that I didn't want to get my uni room sort of clogged up and smelling and being really awful for my lungs. So I had to get a spray booth, and obviously I didn't really want to spend that much. As being a student, sometimes money can be quite tight. So I'm hoping that this hasn't burnt me. I'm hoping this product will be good, but we'll find out. Let's move on to the construction and actually having a look at this thing, shall we? Now you can see here on the front, we have this really interestingly cheesy, quite awfully printed slogan which says "Enjoy the fresh air," and this is actually on all the models on Amazon, which is quite funny. So it'll be interesting to see how much this little unit actually works. I've seen a couple people online using very similar models to this, so I'm hoping that it will be very successful. You can also see that in the bottom left hand side here we have this diagram of the folded up briefcase and then what it looks like when it's fully opened. So I have actually opened this up before just to see if all the parts were there before reviewing it, and yeah, it's actually quite a compact little unit. Moving now onto the top of the unit, then we have the manufacturing label. So that's just got all the contacts, all the model numbers, power output, the noise of the fan, where it's made, all the sort of technical sides as well as the branding. And then we also have this very quite comical on and off switch, which looks like I was about to launch the missiles or something. It's quite big and red and scary, as well as this red outlined power supply input. Moving on to the back, then we have just the fan output, and this is where you'll attach the exhaust pipe. So the exhaust pipe comes in a separate bag and you have to attach everything together. It seems fairly straightforward, but we shall see when it comes to actually fitting the exhaust pipe how easy it is and whether or not everything connects together well so that there's no leakages or smell or fumes or anything like that. This is the left side of the spray booth, and I think it's actually one of the funniest sides to look at and has some of the funniest things on it, because it really shows that this is a Chinese manufactured product which is trying to appear bigger than it may actually be. You've got this lovely broken English feature list, such as novel construction, beauty in shape, smart in bodily form, which sounds very janky and interesting to say the least. Definitely got a chuckle out of that one. I think my favourite is number 7, which says, "The light on-off switch can awake the customer to turn off the compressor on time." I don't really know what that means. I awake the customer. Am I supposed to be asleep whilst airbrushing? I don't really know, but it's here nonetheless, and as I said, gave us a chuckle, so. Over to the right hand side now, and I didn't actually notice this when I bought it on Amazon, but it does come with this nice compartment for housing all the cables and power supplies. If I could, there we go. So once opened, you have the black void at the moment. If I hold this up to the light a bit more, you can see it's quite a nice, big, quite spacious compartment for you to put the PSU, which is quite a nice feature actually that I wasn't expecting. So without further ado, let's move to opening it up, seeing the internal features of it, and actually moving on to the demonstration where I think I'll be airbrushing this here P51 that I've recently been painting. So I'm going to varnish it in a gloss varnish, getting it ready for the transfers that are going to go onto it. So hopefully that demonstration should go to plan. So along with the spray booth itself, you get the exhaust pipe, and this is a very quite long flexible tubing system, which seems to be quite good. It's got a funneled end to it, which means that you can quite easily hook it out a window, and hopefully, fingers crossed, if the fan is strong enough, my room shouldn't smell like paint, which is the main reason why I got this. But yeah, we'll see in the actual demonstration whether this system works or not. So before we get to the actual demonstration of this spray booth, I thought I would show you what actually came with the kit. So obviously there's the instruction manual, and this just has the usual garbage in it. It's fairly well written, but everything is very straightforward. I actually put it together before reading this, which it actually says, "Please thoroughly review the instruction manual carefully before you assemble the spray booth," which I didn't do. So if that's something you're a bit shaky about, definitely give that a look. It's very straightforward. You also get this lovely turntable, which, when I say lovely, it's actually very quite cheap and plasticky. I'm pretty sure it's just two plastic plates held together by some kind of plastic washer and a metal bolt. But it is nice that they include these holes here for attaching the points where you can prop up your model with. I'm not too sure what they're called. Just stands, really. There you go, stand. You can see it's not that free rolling and quite noisy, but it'll do the job. Whether or not it gets clogged up with paint, that is something I'm going to have to test, because I'm quite scared that by spraying over and over again into the center bearing here, it's going to get quite sticky and gunky and just stop working. So we'll see whether that works. You can also see that this spray booth actually comes with a light fixture, which is quite a nice feature. So you can illuminate and see what you're doing very easily, and I have actually plugged this in just to check it works before I took everything out and reviewed it, and the light is actually incredibly good. It's very, very bright. Whether or not it lasts a long time, again, that is something that we'll have to see down the road. But yeah. And so here it is out on my workspace. As you can see, it's rather large. It just about fits in front of my monitor there. But actually sitting down at my chair, it gives quite a good space to spray. It's actually a very large area. One thing to point out is that in the gaps in the shield here, some spray might make its way through. So I think when I varnish my P51, I'm going to have to put down some cloth just beneath the actual spray booth here, just to stop any overspray from actually making its way onto my desk, which is a little bit of a problem, but shouldn't be too bad. Overall, the quality is quite flimsy, but for the money, it's not too bad. So let's plug it in and see how it sounds. So one thing I forgot to show in the building process was connecting up this adapter to the exhaust pipe, and it went together fairly easily. All it took was to press the thing against the back and line up the lugs, and then just give it a sharp twist. It actually pops into place quite easily. And then the flexible tubing was slotted on using the clamp, so fairly easy process. Okay, so it's the next day, bright and early in the morning. I'm leaving plenty of time to run this test, and as you can see, all the tubing is now connected and leading into the back garden. Hopefully it won't smell too much in my room, but I have left enough time so that if it does smell, I can leave my room and let it air out for a good 4 or 5 hours, just so I don't damage my lungs. I am still going to be wearing a mask, obviously, whilst actually spraying. One thing to note actually is, whilst assembling this, you can see that just down here, there is this little crack. Now whether or not, if when I turn the fan actually on, that starts blowing air out there, I may or may not have to plug that up with some tape. Another thing is obviously, again, as I mentioned, there are the small gaps here in between the shield. So that might become a problem. Again, I'm probably going to tape them up just for my first go at airbrushing and spraying this with varnish. So without further ado, let's turn it on and see how it works. So I'm just going to be talking on the overdub here because the fan is actually quite loud, but as you can see with the LEDs on, it's really bright, really lights up the whole area. You can see the model great. There's a little bit of strobing with the camera, but obviously that's just the camera effect. It's not going to translate at all when you do this in real life. And yeah, to say that the fan puts out a kick is an understatement. It's quite powerful, hence given the noise, but really quite impressed with it. So unfortunately, as I suspected, if I put my hand here, I can feel quite a bit of air flowing out. Let me just turn this off. I can feel quite a bit of air pushing its way out through this gap here, so I am going to have to run a bit of electrical tape along there. The majority of the air is being pushed out quite far and quite fast out the end of the tube, so it does seem to be doing its job quite well. Let's get on to the actual spraying and see whether it clogs it up now that we remedy these issues. So guys, I've now done a couple coats of the gloss varnish on the P51 and it's come out really well. I'm really happy with it actually, and yeah, luckily after all of the problems have been fairly rectified, there's not much smell. I did leave the spray booth on for a good 2 hours afterwards to let it dry, and I'm probably going to move this now into a different room just so I can let it dry for at least 24 hours. But yeah, I think my even better ifs would be if that the light and the extractor fan came separately, because it would be really good if I could get the light on without having to turn the fan on, just to use it as a modelling area to paint or build in, because it is actually a really nice wide-ish area and the light is incredibly good for lighting up the models with, which is why I currently have it off, because there is only one really master power switch which only turns the light on or off. I haven't found any other way to switch the light on separately, so that would be my only even better if. Obviously it would be great if the parts fit a bit better, but for the money, I mean, this is really good. If you're a beginner wanting a spray booth of any kind to do, you know, varnishing with a spray can or even get into airbrushing, I would recommend it. I haven't actually looked at any other obviously spray booths that are a bit higher price, and obviously they would be better for their money, but if you just need something there to get you into the world of airbrushing, or you need something to help you ventilate your modelling area, this definitely does the job. You probably could build it yourself if you are so inclined. You know, there's not really much to it, but having it all in one package, having it easily ship, it works really well. So once again, if you enjoyed this review, please leave a like, consider subscribing, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. That would be really useful. Let me know what you liked, what I could do better. whether you've had any experience with spray booths like this, any recommendations to how I could improve this instead of just using electrical tape to fix some of the gaps on the model, and what you would like to see more from me. Any video ideas would be greatly appreciated as well. Thank you very much for sticking around if you are indeed still here, and hope to see you very soon in another video.